Hey everybody, Manny Talaberry here. We're on day 55 of the seven-figure climb. In this video, we're going to talk about how I ended up getting my first $2,500 client. And I'm just going to kind of walk you through the progression here. And so when I first started out, I was in Cameron Luna's group. I was delivering a lot of value in that group. And what happened is people started sending me DMs, and I had been getting DMs for a very long time, but I would not offer them anything. I would just give them advice in the DM and I would just move forward. And what ultimately happened when these people would send me DMs, I started just asking to get them on a call. And what happened is I had decided that I was going to make the shift from course creation to selling coaching and just focus on coaching. And the goal was to actually speak to 100 people. I said, I'm going to speak to 100 people. I'm going to deliver a lot of value and I'm going to offer coaching. And I think if I do this, someone will probably hire me. And what ultimately had happened is that the arrangement I had with Dan Deline, we were no longer really working together. I was still doing some things with him and his group and all of that, but I wasn't uh, doing the joint ventures as far as selling product with him. And so I had to replace that money. And so what happened is I was in this group and I was delivering this value, and people would reach out to me all the time. And what happened is I just basically said, I'm just going to start offering to get people on calls. And I would go from a DM right to a call. And that's what I would do. No strategy session, questions, questionnaire, no any of that. I would get them on a call and I would just start asking them questions. And then I would make an offer if the fit was right. Now, it turned out that everything worked out really well because the first three people I talked to sent me $500 and they signed up for monthly coaching. The fourth person is the person who gave me the 2,500. The fifth person was a miss, and then the sixth person sent me 1,000. And so I had 500, 500, 500, and they were going to be giving me money ongoing. And so I really felt confident that I was going to get at least 1,000 from them, each of them. And so when I was talking to the fourth person, it did give me a little bit of confidence in asking for more money. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I first started out, I didn't have a clear plan of action. I was going to have a conversation. If the fit was right, I was going to offer month-to-month coaching, and I was going to give them a price, and the price was going to start out at 500. But what happened, Dan Deline and I were real good friends. He was in the carpet cleaning niche, and he had that group, and we had done really well together selling product. And he said there was a guy in the space that wanted to talk to me about possibly creating a course for carpet cleaners. Now, what's interesting about this is I had already created 6 products for carpet cleaners. So I knew for a fact there's no way I couldn't help him create a course because I had already done this 6 times in this niche and I understood them pretty well at this point. And so I had got the first 3 clients, and first 3 clients, they had moved forward with me. They'd sent me money, and I just decided I was going to ask for 2,500, and I decided this prior to having the conversation with him. Now, the reason for that is I knew he was going to want to create a course, and I knew for a fact that if you have a business, I can actually coach you and I can do weekly calls and give you a lot of insights, but you really can't help someone to create a course with weekly calls if you're working with them one-on-one. It's really just going to take too long. You're going to have more calls with them. The calls are going to be a little bit longer, especially if they've never created anything before. And so what I ultimately did is I took the call with the guy and we had a really good conversation. And I just said, Randy, I love your energy. I love your passion. I know I can help you do this. I've created several in this niche. It's not going to be very difficult at all. It's straightforward, but I will help you create a course. The only thing is it's going to cost you 2,500 because it is going to be a lot of work. But I said, look, if you send me the money, I guarantee you'll have a course in about 90 to 120 days. He sent me $1,500 that day, and I think 4 days later, he sent me the other 1,000. And what ultimately happened, he was originally going to do a 6 CD product or program, and back then that's what we were selling. And we had a lot of conversations. And what happened is when he sent me the first rough draft of a recording for the first day, not the first day, but the first CD, it was really, really, really bad. And it was only about 22 minutes. And back then, a CD was about 80 minutes, but you wanted to give them anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes of content minimum. And you could give them more than that, but you certainly didn't want to do 20 minutes, and certainly not on the first CD. And on top of it only being about 22 minutes long, it was not good. It just wasn't commercial. There were a lot of problems with it. I mean, he had a TV going on in the background. I don't know what he recorded with. He sent me a file, and I knew I could turn that file into a CD. I'd learned how to do that. But like I said, TV going on in the background. I mean, I think I heard maybe a dog barking. I might have even heard somebody eating potato chips on one of these recordings or something. And so the second week wasn't much better. And I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with him. And I basically just told him, he needed to up his game. He needed to really get serious. He needed to find a room where there was no noise. He needed to be able to create notes and dedicate himself to making 45-minute discs. But the problem is, I knew it was going to take him forever, and I knew the rate we would be working on this for 18 months. And so what I did is I said, I tell you what, Randy, why don't we do it this way? Why don't you create 3 CDs and I'll create 3 CDs, and we will have a 6 CD set, and you'll be able to sell it to your people and I'll be able to sell it to mine. The benefit of what Randy was doing, this is the reason this all made so much sense. Randy was a trained carpet cleaner, and he went out and trained other carpet cleaners, and he was doing these classes for a company, and he was in front of 50 or 100 carpet cleaners a week, and he would be able to sell his discs to that group of people. So he had an outlet for the material. And so we went back and forth, and that's what we ended up agreeing on. Unfortunately, it still wasn't as good as it could have been, because, again, he ended up creating 3 CDs, but one of the CDs just wasn't quite ready for prime time, which I had no problem with. And so what ultimately happened, he created 2, I created 4. We got the 6 CD set done, but the benefit of that is I had another product to sell, and I probably made $10,000 selling that product, in addition to the 2,500 he gave me. And I know he did really well with the product, selling it as well. So it worked out. But what's interesting is I didn't just decide I'm going to raise my prices. As a matter of fact, I was still scared to ask for 500, but the reason I asked for 2,500 is because I knew upfront how much work it was going to be, because at that point I'd created 30 or 40 products. I knew a lot went into it, and I knew that he was probably going to be a bit of a problem child. It was going to take a little bit of time. And so that's ultimately how I made the first product. And the thing is, I really liked working with him. It was a learning experience. And what's interesting is the 2 CDs that he did put together were really, really good. And the third one was good. It just wasn't quite good enough for me. It might have been a little short or something. So I didn't have a problem creating that other disc. But like I said, we ended up doing that, and that's how it came to be. But we're going to end out of this. But I just hope you got some value from that. And so what I want you to take from this is, I didn't decide I was just going to raise my prices. I just raised my prices because I knew what he was wanting to do was going to be a lot of work. But we will see you all on the next video, and thanks a lot.